Look at that shirt.
AFC
Is that not
East.
a beautiful shirt?
AFC East
Hey,
champions.
give a shout out. Where did you get that shirt from?
Well, it's only been
Watson.
6 months.
No, it's been 6 days.
It feels like 6 months.
Well, it pretty much has been, actually.
13 seconds is going to bite into every soul of Bills Mafia
Unless they win the Super Bowl.
unless we win this Sunday. How confident would we be right now if we didn't have any of these injuries on defense? If we had Matt Milano right now, if we had Trey White, if we had every chess piece available, I think we would almost be too cocky.
There's a 100% injury rate in the NFL, and that's going to happen no matter what. When someone goes out, next man up.
I mean, I'm just a dude talking on a screen from a computer in Madison, Wisconsin. I can't even imagine what it would take to do what he's done. I owe a big apology to Sean McDermott.
If the Bills are up by 10 and we have the ball to end the game, they call the timeout with 13 seconds.
Knock on every piece of wood you got in that house. Don't you even do it. Don't you even do it.
Welcome back to another edition of the House that Allen Built. This is
The episode I don't can remember because we haven't done it for 4 months.
I don't even know. I have no idea.
And we're back.
Hi, Scott K. Martin. With me, as always, Greg Vollmer.
Vollmer.
We missed a couple episodes. I guess I forgot to hit the publish button, but we're back.
We've been doing episodes every week. It just hasn't been published.
This is important. It is the AFC divisional round for the third time against Kansas City, but this time we get them in Buffalo, and it's the first time Mahomes has ever played a playoff game on the road. Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah, I think Tony Romo is somewhere in the background saying, Jim Nantz, this is going to be special.
I can see it now. It's going to be another 13 seconds. Hopefully it's in our favor this time.
Finally, it's in Buffalo. It's ringing off the snow-piled streets in Buffalo, New York. It's finally in the Ralph. We are about to embark on a weekend that it could be considered the most important game in Western New York in maybe 30 years.
5 of the 6 matchups between these two teams since Allen and Mahomes have been in the league were at Arrowhead, and the very first matchup between them was during COVID, so there were no fans when it was in Buffalo. So this is the first time that the Chiefs are playing in front of Bills Mafia in Buffalo. It's finally happening. Obviously, we've got weather issues like last week. It's supposed to get buried with snow Saturday night, and then it's supposed to lighten up for Sunday. A couple flakes here and there, but nothing that's going to affect the actual game time.
I'm not a meteorologist, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. And by the looks of all the people lined up to shovel the stadium, I'd say that Bills Mafia is ready to go. They've been waiting a long time for this home game.
It's been 30 years since the Bills have played a playoff game that will, I think, matter more than anything prior, including the 13 seconds. I know we had the AFC Championship game. Let's see, what year was that? That was January 24th, 2021. Allen had a decent game, 287 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 88 yards rushing. He doesn't have rushing touchdown against.
Think about the stats you just said. You just laid out the stats, and if you wouldn't have said the final score of that championship game against the Chiefs way back when, it seems like a long time ago. It's not. It's like it's recent history, but for some reason it seems like a lifetime ago to me.
Well, he was
just
sacked
laid
4
out those
times.
Stats that Allen did in that championship game in Kansas City, and I would have thought that it would have been close. And it wasn't.
No, that was, I think, the 38-24 game.
It was.
The next time they played January 23rd, 22, which was 1 day shy of exactly a year. Allen had 73% completion percentage, 329 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, was sacked twice, but a QBR of 136. Add in 68 yards rushing, no rushing touchdowns. It was a damn near perfect game, and they squandered that. I think McDermott has finally learned. He's showing that he's being a little more responsible with his time management and his decision making. And at times, I mean, he's actually pretty aggressive on defense. And overall,
I've never been critical of McDermott, so I think he's just been doing great the whole time.
Yeah, you and everyone else, including Tyler Dunn. That smear campaign was actually.
I haven't said a single negative thing about McDermott. I'm telling you,
never. You never have.
My hands are clean. My hands are clean.
We know the Bills lost that overtime game. That was the 13 seconds. That was January 23rd, as I said.
Hey, where were we at that night?
The Tinker Tavern. We went with Jeff and Ricardo, and we were having a great time. I jumped up on the table on like the bench, and I'm like getting
I
super
hugged the
excited.
stranger next to me after we had the go-ahead touchdown to Gabe Davis.
But
the whole
I
place
had
was
this
jumping.
ball in my stomach telling me, just wait, anything is possible still. I was alive for the
should've.
Music City Miracle.
I should have.
I've
I was
seen-
drunkenly happy, like thinking we are gonna host the title game.
And sure enough, those 13 seconds happen, and the overtime rules have changed. And some people have said, wouldn't it be poetic if they went overtime again? The Bills scored first, and then they get scored on and end up losing in overtime.
I'm not from Buffalo, and I adopt this city. I say it's my hometown. If it weren't for being born in Rapid City, South Dakota, I say that in an alternate universe, I would have been born in Buffalo, New York. But you were born there.
Born and raised in the area. My grandfather has had season tickets since their inaugural season in '60, and I've seen it all. And you feel like I feel like you were reincarnated, like your past life, you were from Buffalo. I mean, you've got the heart and soul of a true Buffalonian who lives and dies by the team, and you let it dictate your feelings each week. The Monday hangover happened after a win and loss.
I don't know what that's like in Buffalo, but like I feel it, even though I've never actually been in Buffalo to experience that. I live vicariously through a city that's been through probably more pain than a lot of cities want to imagine. You know, like everyone competes for who's the fucking best city, right? Like you got Detroit, and you got Atlanta, and you got Buffalo, and you got Massachusetts. You got all these states that are constantly like vying for like who's the fucking toughest and the best, and who's been through the most shit. But like who's been through more shit than Buffalo sports, that town.
It's true.
Yeah.
The
city of good neighbors.
Maybe Detroit, maybe Minnesota, but really it's Buffalo. Nobody's gone to 4 Super Bowls in a row and lost them. Minnesota's been to 4 and lost them. But wouldn't it be cool to see the Bills make it all the way and then play the Lions?
Yeah, the city of Buffalo gets dumped on by snow constantly. It's a blue-collar city that they work hard and they take care of each other, and they constantly get reminded about how they got 4 Super Bowls in a row and lost every single one. You've got an AFC divisional round where a lot of people are praying for our downfall. A lot of people aren't, but God knows a lot of people are praying for our downfall, because a lot of people still don't like Buffalo because they just don't want to accept that they're not blue collar and tough and rough around the edges, and a city that will fucking get beat down and get beat down and get beat down, and then they just get back up the next day because they say that's the only thing I know how to do.
You sound like you're Sylvester Stallone, Rocky, right now, telling his son that he needs to get up, and it's not how hard you hit, it's about getting back up, right? It's not how hard you hit the ground, it's about how hard you hit. I'm screwing that one up, but
that's cool Buffalo.
Quote. All right, this podcast is about the revenge game, and it's the AFC divisional round. Like I said,
I got lost in my feelings, man. We're talking about a game here coming up. Talking about this isn't practice, this is a game.
Practice. Let's hope that third time's the charm, and that the Bills come 6:30 p.m. Eastern this Sunday, January 21st on CBS. The Bills hold true to their favorite by 2.5 points and go beyond that. You know what? I think they win by 4. My prediction is going to be Bills 27-23. I wish it was a lot higher. The Chiefs' defense is no joke. The Bills' defense is pretty banged up, but they'll have some guys back. We'll talk about injuries.
Yeah, you're underselling that. The Chiefs' defense is unlike anything we've ever seen. That championship game, this is what does scare me. That championship game that we lost 38-24, was it?
Yes.
This defense is totally different than then. It's a hell of a lot better. And as Trista Crick from BetMGM said on Chopin the Bulldog, this defense is nasty. I also love her voice, by the way. Like I have a huge crush on Trista Crick.
She's very in tune with the NFL. It's cool to hear her get interviewed on Chopin the Bulldog each week.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is your prediction?
No, I'm not doing one.
You're not going to do one? Okay.
No.
You just don't want to jinx it, do you?
I want to say we're going to win, but... And then why would I say that the Chiefs are going to win? Because that would just be a stupid fucking prediction as a Bills fan. Every game that we've played against the Chiefs has been so stressful. Every game we play is stressful, but the stress level from a Chiefs game is just on a different level.
It's become a great rivalry.
I can't even say that it was like it's more stressful than when we played the Patriots, because every time we played the Patriots during the drought, it was just a beatdown of your soul is just leaving your body and you're trying to collect it on the way out.
Speaking of Brady, Mahomes has mentioned he hopes that his matchup with Allen, since they've now seen each other, this will be the 7th time, is like the modern day Brady versus Manning. That's some good company.
I think that it is. I think that that's a hell of a comparison. I think it's accurate. I think the only people that are complaining about that comparison are the ones that wish that they had a Mahomes or an Allen on their team. That's truth.
The Chiefs are 3-2 all time in the playoffs against the Bills, and most recently with Mahomes, they're 2-0, which is obviously perfect. However, the Bills are on a hot streak. They've won their last 6. They're 7-1 under Joe Brady. By the way, Joe Brady is being interviewed by Atlanta for their head coaching spot right after Bill Belichick. How crazy is that?
What a shock! An offensive coordinator coaching Josh Allen gets interviewed for a head coaching job. I would have put money down that would have never happened. Are you kidding me? You kidding me? Playoffs?
Have you seen the commercial with him in it where
Yes,
he kind of plays off of that? It is awesome.
I like there was a piece of my heart that just got filled in when I watched that.
Yeah, no, it was a great commercial, and obviously they keep playing it during the regular season, which doesn't matter right now. Allen has done pretty well against KC.
He's only beat him when it matters in the regular season.
That's true. But 97.7% rating. He's got 999 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions in those 4 games. His rushing yards and rushing average hasn't been that great because of Spagnuolo. He is good at like limiting him, and I do worry about that. But we've got James Cook, who's had 1,122 yards, something like that. And Pacheco, who runs very hard and is scrappy, has 7 touchdowns on the regular season. He's been running hard too. He did very well against Miami, like they needed him to.
Pacheco runs like a dude in middle school that stole his lunch money and then gave him a wedgie over his head with his t-shirt.
He didn't even hit 1,000 yards rushing like Cook did, but he's used in a different way.
He runs angry as shit.
You know, the last 4 games, Cook has had like 1 reception, where the first, Joe Brady's had 8 games that he's called so far. The first 4, like he dialed it up with James Cook. I feel like he needs to go back to that because that would really help out of the backfield and kind of bail Allen out a little bit so he didn't feel like he has to be hero. I think he held himself in check last week against the Steelers where he wasn't trying to do too much. Of course, he had a couple boneheaded plays, but overall, I mean, God, that 52-yard breakaway touchdown that Steelers fans were crying was a fake slide. Not even close.
I don't know how the narrative started, whether it was through the media or the coaches, or I don't know how it started. But we're afraid to talk about hero ball from Josh Allen. And you know what? I think I know where it started. I think it started in the wild card game against the Houston Texans not long ago. It seems
not long ago. That was 2019 playoffs. We were up 16-0, 19-16, tied up 19-19, go in overtime and lose 22-19 against Deshaun Watson. That's where
the Superman, like the Sugar Rush, Josh started.
You know why? Because he threw to DeMarco 42 yards across his body downfield.
Here's the deal, though. He is Superman. He is Buffalo, New York Superman. And he does stuff like what we saw with that 52-yard scamper, but he also does some stupid shit where he throws a direct pass to the opposite team at times when you least expect it. It's this, and that is why a lot of people have made this narrative, and I think it's true, the Josh Allen experience. And it's that dichotomy of one moment you see him do something that is Superman, and he wears the cape. And then the next moment, he can do something that just makes you want to pull your hair out. But that's the experience, and that's who we got, and we're going to love him hell or high water.
Again, like I've said, and pretty much every episode, when Jim Kelly was a quarterback, of course, he became a Hall of Famer, but I used to call him Jim Smelly when he threw interceptions. I'm like, come on. You know, someone on Twitter, or X now, recently compared Josh Allen and his number of interceptions in the first 6 seasons of his career, or 7 seasons, whatever. And he's so far better than Montana, Elway, Favre, all those guys who are all Hall of Famers. Kelly had bad games. Allen's had bad games. When it comes to playoffs, you remember when he had 9 touchdowns and no interceptions. He had a damn near flawless playoff, and we screwed it up because of coaching and time management. I don't think that happens this year. I think after the smear campaign against McDermott, he's been sharp. He's called a great defense all season, and he's going against his mentor. And it's just one of those games where there's so much on the line. Of course, the Bills have everything to lose, but you're at home.
You think McDermott is that meme, that Michael Jordan meme where he's like, and I took that personally? Is that McDermott going into this game?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, come on. The guy is a former wrestler. He's a former corner or safety in college. He is a competitor, and maybe he's a little cheesy. Maybe his 9/11 speeches aren't great.
That whole done thing blew
Yeah.
the doors off of, I think, everybody. Everyone was shocked after that came out. That's an unsettling thing, because I think there's a lot of opinions on that author, and he makes a living writing articles, and he's credited for doing so.
He used to cover the Bills, and then he went to the Packers, but obviously he covers the NFL. He had it out for McDermott. Maybe they have bad blood in the past. Who cares? Allen has a 104.8 rating against the Chiefs in the 2 games, 616 yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception, 156 yards rushing in the 2 playoff games, right? As you know, in the 21 playoffs, 287 and 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. In the 22, he had 329 yards and 4 touchdowns, 68 yards rushing. I'm hoping that he does about the same, maybe 70 yards rushing, 300 yards passing would be awesome. He was sacked 4 times in 21 in that AFC Championship game, where in the divisional round 2 years ago, he was sacked twice. I would like to keep him clean like he has been all season. He was sacked the least among any quarterback in the league. The starting 5 were the same 5 every single game. I know last week McGovern got banged up and missed a series, I think, but then he came back in to finish.
Is that not just wildly, I don't even want to say poetic, because it's not, poetic's probably not the word, but ironic is probably the better word, that in a season where we've probably had the most injuries we've ever had in at least a half a decade, you've got an offensive line that stayed together the entire season. That's unbelievable.
It is, but thankfully that's the case because they've been able to protect Allen. I mean, obviously, he'd probably be sacked 20 more times if it weren't for his legs and, agility to get out of the pocket, juke people, spin out of a sack.
Think about that. We've gotten hit nothing but defense. It's been almost, other than Gabe Davis, which is now he's going to miss a second game going into this divisional round. Everything's been on defense, just constantly like torpedo hit. And offense has stayed pretty steady. We lost Knox. Let's not forget about Dawson. So you're talking about Dawson, Knox being out for quite a substantial time, but only to kind of bring in Dalton Kincaid to the national spotlight as to like, here's why we took him in the first round, unleash him, and he did swimmingly. Like, it's been all on the defensive side, which is crazy to me.
Let's get into those injuries because the defense has obviously had a lot more injuries than the offense. Injuries for this week, we already know that 4 people are out. Christian Benford, who's been CB2, he's been great alongside Rasul Douglas, who we traded for. Solid all season. He's out with a knee. Gabe Davis, you just mentioned, out with a knee. It sucks. We'll miss him. Maybe Hardy will step up in a good matchup with their cornerback too. Gabe Davis is the one who had the 4 touchdowns in that playoff game that like everyone remembers. He's done well against the Chiefs, notably. Taylor Rapp, who is our safety, our third safety, our backup to either one, Poyer and Hyde. He's going to be out with a calf. That means more Cam Lewis, who actually will switch from cornerback and safety. He's been doing both this year. And if something happens there to where one of them can't play, you'll see more DeMar Hamlin maybe. That would be
player of the year is going to be playing.
It would be cool to have Hamlin be the one who seals it like Taron Johnson did against Lamar Jackson with the 107-yard pick six.
Only Hollywood could write that script, man.
Taylor Rapp, like I said, he is already out. And then Balin Spector, who was like our linebacker 4 or 5, he's been good in spot duty. And with him out for sure, Dotson being back, that's good. It's like a whack-a-mole situation. And Klein looked good. The guy who's booked to go on vacation in the Keys, and then he cancels and plays and has like 11 or 12 tackles. I mean, he looked good. And
he's got a signature tattoo of his initials on his bicep.
That's cool. He's been under McDermott's wing since Carolina in 2016, 2017.
I mean, the fact that he could come off of vacation and then call the defense I think that says everything you need to know about his preparation. Damn.
So with those 4 guys definitely out, some others questionable. We don't know. Taron Johnson has a concussion. He's gotten out within that first 9 days, 1 week, all 4 other times, which sucks that this is his 5th concussion. But I saw footage of him being limited, red non-contact jersey, but he was all smiles and moving well. So he thinks he could have played the rest of that game, just like Douglas thought he was ready last week and he'll be ready this week. They've moved people around. The biggest question mark to me, if Taron Johnson is a go, would be Terrell Bernard, who obviously has been playing out of his mind since Milano went out, and he has an ankle injury. Obviously, it would be a blessing if we had him. If he's out, they're probably going to be shifting people around. Like I said, bringing in Cam Lewis. Poyer will move over to linebacker like they do with the 3 linebacker sets sometimes. Like I said, Hamlin will probably get some time in there. Okay, so because of the injuries, our starting corners this week.
Like I've been listening to WGR in the Chopin the Bulldog, and they've been talking about the injuries, right? Everyone's talking about the injuries, and it's like, but then they're talking about like Bills fans, Buffalo's feeling confident, like just kind of getting the pulse of people calling in. They talked about how in general people seem to be a little bit more at ease going into this game, which in years past, going into Kansas City, there was the opposite kind of feeling, I think, of the pulse of people like Chopin the Bulldog or Jeremy and Sneaky Joe DiBiase, like taking those calls, like they seem to have less anxiety going into this game, which is interesting to me because it's like, this is a game where we know we are undermanned. Like, if you don't think that, you are being blinded. Like, we are on defense, we are going to be undermanned. Now Josh Allen is going to put on his cape, and I think he's going to make some moments where he's going to make us probably have our jaw drop during this game. But I guess my question is, and what popped in my head is, how confident would we be right now if we didn't have any of these injuries on defense? If we had Matt Milano right now, if we had Trey White, and I know we wouldn't have traded for Russell Douglas in that alternate universe, all the things that have gone against us. What if Von Miller wasn't trying to get back to like even 50% of what he was? Like, if we had everything, all the chips falling our way right now, like how confident would we be? So the fact that people are calling in right now and confident when we're this undermanned, I mean, it shows the passion, but like, just, I guess it just makes me think, like, imagine if we were at full strength. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at right now. Is imagine if all those injuries that are just documented, and it's well known by everyone now, if that hadn't happened, I think our confidence would be almost too much, probably too much. Like, we are, if we had everything, if we had all our chess pieces on the table right now, which we don't, to the point where it's a national conversation by some, if we had every chess piece available, I think we would almost be too cocky.
There's a 100% injury rate in the NFL, and that's going to happen no matter what. When someone goes out, next man up. And in this
so
case,
you're saying that our shitty defense, because of an unprecedented amount of injuries, balances
shitty?
out.
We don't have a shitty defense.
Our compromised defense from an insurmountable amount of injuries this year gets balanced out by the fact that the Chiefs aren't what they used to be on paper.
It gets balanced out by the fact that McDermott's making the call instead of Leslie Frazier. It's balanced because Bean made good trades and good draft picks. I mean, look at what Terrell Bernard has done. Look at these 5th-round steals that he's doing with, Christian Benford in the 5th or 6th round versus our 1st-round quote-unquote bust in Kaiir Elam, who had a nice pick last week. It's more than just what you're saying. When one team weakens and you have all your chips go in the right direction because coaching and philosophy and some of it's luck. This week, if Taron Johnson clears a concussion protocol, we've got him back. Rasul Douglas will be back. We didn't have him last week. Dane Jackson is cornerback 2. Fine. Christian Benford's out. Fine. What do we have as a backup after that?
Christian Benford being out is huge.
Now, the Bills can only elevate 2 players this week, so there's going to be some challenges in the playoffs. Sam Martin obviously had a hamstring injury, his plantar foot, not left foot, but his hamstring. But he ended up holding just fine. Well, I shouldn't say just fine. There were 2 bad misses by, I almost said Ryan Lindell. Tyler Ass.
Ryan Lindell. Yeah. That takes me back to some crazy.
It does, man. I was front row for fans talking shit.
We've always had good kickers, though. Like, that
have.
shows. If there's anything that will tell you that you had a playoff drought, is that you pay real close attention to your kickers and punters. Like, Buffalo knows their kickers and punters because we had such a long playoff drought. Now we don't have to talk about that because we have Josh Allen, a superhero, a fucking guy that is unbelievable. But back in the drought, we would talk about Brian Moorman of the world and the Ryan Lindell or the Steve Christie.
Dan Carpenter.
Steve Christie brought in the twilight of Jim Kelly's career, so like he's considered one of the greats. But
Dan Carpenter was in there.
Back in the day, we talked about special teams like it was King Superman, and now
that was our best third.
It shows how far we've come, and that we need to, no matter what happens on Sunday, it shows that we need to pinch ourselves. I think that it's maybe a blessing that I've been too busy with work this year to say some things that I've wanted to say during the season.
What are you talking about? We've recorded every week. I just forgot to hit publish.
Yeah, you just forgot to hit record. I think I've been very critical of McDermott before this turnaround, and after that Tyler Dunn piece came out, I'm going to say full disclosure right now. I bought into it. I was sick of McDermott. I thought about the 13 seconds thing.
I told you to hold your horses too.
You did, but I was done with it. I was like, yeah, I kind of see the writing on the wall. He's a defensive-minded coach. Statistics show that it's offensive coaches that are leading teams to the Super Bowls. I can't let go of that feeling of what I felt after the 13 seconds and how there wasn't a lot of accountability towards the media after it, and that was headed by McDermott. There was a lot of raw emotions.
Yeah.
And I wanted, after that Tyler Dunn piece came out, and our buddy Brand, he was like, don't buy into this bullshit. And I was kind of feeding into it with you guys in the group chat. And I kind of feel ashamed for that, to be honest, like as a Bills fan, as a part of Bills Mafia. But at that point, I was like, I'm done with McDermott. I got to eat crow on that. What he has done in the last 2 months, I mean, I'm just a dude talking on a screen from a computer in Madison, Wisconsin. I can't even imagine what it would take to do what he's done. I owe a big apology to Sean McDermott. Look, we're all fucking imperfect and we all have demons in the closet. And Tyler Dunn chose to write a piece that I'm sure he spent a lot of time on. And he's a credited author, and that's all great and grand. He chose to put it out at a really shitty time too.
Or maybe it was the best time. Maybe it was the best time. Remember the bickering Bills of the early 90s?
Yeah, no, but for him, I think it was financially motivated, so I don't want to give him that much credit. But yeah, I owe McDermott an apology. What he's done, and look, 13 seconds is going to bite into every soul of Bills Mafia
unless they win the Super Bowl.
Unless we win this Sunday. I think we want to buy into McDermott. It's just that we have the scar tissue, and that's been documented. We have scar tissue as Bills fans. We just want to get past a game like this Sunday, because and look, you know what? If there's any hope in it, and I'm drawing on here, look at that shirt. Is that not a beautiful shirt?
AFC East.
Hey, give a shout out. Where did you get that shirt from?
I got this shirt on Etsy. Says AFC East champions 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. That's back to back AFC
That's a clean
East
looking
champs.
shirt. You got that from Etsy?
Well, I can't say that it's authentic, but it is very nice. So, all right, let's get back to our thoughts. You're going off on a tangent and apologizing about.
Yeah, I wanted to give an apology to McDermott. I got long-winded. I've never done that before. I want to give McDermott his flowers, as they say, and it's been said many times before.
Okay, well, now that we've gone over that, and Greg went on a little spiel, a little rant about special teams that we've basically between running backs, cornerbacks, and punters, kickers. That's basically what we've had during the drought for 18 to 20 years. Think about it.
We have a superstar quarterback, but even he gets the goalpost moved constantly and doesn't get MVP because someone else has 13 or 15 less touchdowns, but he's got a better record and this and that.
By 2 wins. Okay. So punter Matt Hawk will likely be elevated because we signed him to the practice squad. So yeah, anyway, Sam Martin is questionable, may or may not play. So that would be one possible elevation. And then the second one would be Andy Isabella, since Gabe Davis is out. He did have a target last week where Hardy did not. Or was it Sherfield who did not? I think it was Sherfield because Hardy scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
But that was on special teams too. If not, we're going to only have 4 wide receivers, and you don't want to do that. So, and we had also released playoff Leonard Fournette. That's likely, so we can make another move, or we're going to have to drop somebody and re-sign them. Maybe Puna Ford or something, somebody that somebody else won't snag off of waiver wire.
There's obviously storylines that could make Tony Romo and Jim Nantz come in their pants going into this game. But here's the storyline. You got Diggs injured right now, potentially. And for the better part of 2 months under new coordinator Joe Brady, he hasn't been utilized statistically.
That's a good thing if they've been able to win without him.
You've seen that he has not been used. He's now dealing with a potential foot injury. Is this going to be a Khalil, Shakir, and Dalton Kincaid game?
That would show how well we've drafted. And not everyone liked that Kincaid pick in the first round. And I loved it. I mean,
is it possible to have a Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakir?
By the way, I am warming up to that hat. I don't like that it's the Bills logo without his back legs. It's weird, but I love the colors and the idea of the outline.
You know what I say about it? I say that it's unfinished because when we win the Super Bowl, you'll finally finish the legs on the back.
Are you going to draw them in?
Yeah, well, no, the New Era company will. It was an agreement that they said that when we finally win a Super Bowl, they'll finish the Buffalo logo.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do some other storylines here. How about this weekend at Highmark Stadium? The Bills are going to offer Taylor Swift themed concession food.
They're not doing that.
They are too. Look it up, dude. It's a legit thing. And Travis Kelce said that Bills Mafia doesn't scare him. Jason Kelce joked about attending the game and jumping through a table. There's just headline after headline about this matchup. Everyone's biting into it.
Is Jason Kelce really going to come?
He probably is. He's retired, or he will be soon. He probably is, honestly. I mean, Taylor Swift is going to be there. Kelce's mom's going to be there. Why not the brother?
Bring 3 generations so they can witness this L.
I have something to say about Taylor Swift. I was telling Chelsea not to play any of her music this week, and I'm wearing a red shirt, which I said I didn't want to wear because the Chiefs are likely going to be wearing red. We're going to be in the white or blue. But Taylor Swift has brought a lot of new fans to watching the NFL game, and if that means she's helping educate fans by just turning the game on and learning about it, I'm all for it. Now, do they need to show her 20, 30 times a game? No. Is she goofy and cringy sometimes when she's doing this whole thing? Is she buying into it and she loves it, and that's cool, but whatever. Anyway,
is she a billionaire and we don't really even need to talk about her? Fuck her.
Kelsey is. So yeah, she turned down the Super Bowl this year, and that's why Usher's like, yeah, I'll do it again.
She was an idiot for turning it down, but that's what love does. Makes you do crazy things.
It's because her boyfriend's not going to be in the Super Bowl because we're going to take him there.
Love makes you do crazy things like turning down when you're making billions, you don't need to do a 1.5 million contract for the Super Bowl.
Okay, so like you said, we'll get back to the game. Stephon Diggs, questionable with the ankle. I don't think there's a chance in hell that he doesn't play. Even if he is a little slower, misses a step because of an ankle, whatever. I think the biggest challenge is going to be if he's missing a step, he's going against L'Jarius Sneed, who's very good. And I just want to see the Bills run offense against that Chiefs run defense. Cook had 141 all-purpose yards during the regular season when they played them. I'd love to see if they can do that again. Of course, we know it's Mahomes versus Allen. We know it's Kelce and Rashee Rice. And
hey, give the breakdown. You sent the breakdown to the Bills.
Let me get there.
All right, I'm sorry.
So
I'm
you've got
the cart ahead of the horse here.
So you can tell we were a little rusty here.
Well, it's only been 6 months.
No, it's been 6 days.
It feels like 6 months.
Well, it pretty much has been, actually. All right, so Kelce, Rashee Rice, Watson, Valdez-Scantling versus Diggs, no Davis, Kincaid, Knox, and Shakir, and maybe a little bit of Sherfield or Hardy or Isabella, but it's Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire versus Cook, Latavius Murray, Ty Johnson. And if we're looking at ratings and points scored for and against, I mean, they're pretty good across the board. Points scored, Bills 26.5 points, that's 6th best. KC has obviously been a full touchdown less than last year, 21.8 yards. Now points allowed by their defense, they've allowed 17.3, which is 2nd best. We've allowed the 4th least at 18.3. Now we're talking total yards per game. They're 9th, we're 4th. Total yards against, they're 2nd, we're 9th. So again, we're pretty close, both in the top 10. Passing yards per game, we're 8th, actually. They're 6th. So Mahomes has literally exactly 2 yards per game more than Allen. Passing yards per game allowed, the Chiefs are 4th best, and we're 7th best. We're talking 20 yards of a difference. They allow 177, we allow 197.
That's why Vegas is making this a 2.5 point spread.
I know it's going to be a good game, and they usually give 2 to 3 points to the home team, so it's about an even game as
it's a pick 'em, as they say. Trista Crick, I think, would say it's a pick 'em.
Here's where we actually do better. Now, as much as we praise Isaiah Pacheco because he runs hard and runs well, and this is the time of year during bad weather, especially, that you need somebody like him. The Chiefs rushing this year is only 19th best. They average 105 yards a game. We average 130. That extra 25 yards obviously comes from Allen or a breakout performance by Cook, but the rushing yards against, they're almost identical, again, within 3 yards. We're talking they allow 113, we allow 111. So 110.5, 15th and 18th. That's middle of the pack. Not great. Rushing defense, as you know, can be leaky, especially when you have your linebackers injured, and Daquan Jones was out for half the season with a torn pec. Okay, sacks. They are one of only 3 teams better than the Bills this year in sacks. We had 53, they had 57 during the regular season. 2nd best for them, 4th best for us. Interceptions, they actually are terrible there. They're 27th best with only 8 on the season, where we had 18 for 3rd best. And then time of possession, it's within 2 minutes a game, I honestly think that's irrelevant. There's a lot of things that factor into that, whether you're milking the clock at the end because you're winning, or whether you're good with the 2-minute drill, or there's fumbles, all that stuff. So I
It's a
kind of
big world, a
disregard
lot
that.
of smells.
Yeah, but obviously, like for them, they have far less injuries than we do right now. They've got Sky Moore, who's out. They've got Kadarius Toney, who is questionable now. Obviously, that was a controversy during the regular season when he was offsides and blew the game for them. Apparently,
He
we're
cost
gonna
them a
win
home game, or else we would have been back in Kansas City this weekend.
if we squandered that game. But yes, there's a chance of that.
Had we lost that game, we would be in Kansas City right now.
I don't want to think about that. We're not there, so there's a lot
It's
of things.
wild.
We were
It's
6-6, and we finished 11-6.
It's
We were
awesome. The fact
we were
that
3 games behind Miami with 5 games left.
I
Now
know, I'm saying
we
the
have to
fact
thank
that-
Tennessee and Miami.
The fact that mess up helped us finally get a game in Buffalo instead of having to go to Kansas City again and have to hear the last week of drawn on talk about how we got to play in there again. I'm saying it's
Yeah.
awesome.
It is. I mean, there's a lot of coulda, woulda, shoulda, ball bounce this way, ball bounce that way, coin flip. There's a lot of chance in sports in general, but I'm focused on this game. Obviously, it's the divisional round. We're seeing them again. We've seen them there before. We've seen them in the AFC Championship. The only thing that this guarantees is that we won't see them in the AFC Championship if we win. And if we do win, we're already going to know if we host or go. If Baltimore beats Houston, then we go to Baltimore.
Let's
Hold
talk
on.
about that game.
Briefly, because we're running out of time. Baltimore has a lot more on their plate than a lot of people expect. They're sleeping on Houston as a 9.5-point underdog. Stroud is a stud. I think Baltimore's had a great regular season, but it means nothing. Just look at Miami. And Lamar Jackson's had a great season.
13-4.
He's likely going to be MVP. Oh, that's right, because the Steelers beat their third string.
He's not my MVP.
Of course not, but he still had a solid season.
He did.
I mean,
and I respect the hell out of him, but he's not the MVP. Media has dictated this whole turnover narrative against Josh Allen, and I'm being biased, and you can call me a homer, but
he's had a lot of turnovers, but it doesn't mean that he's had more than.
the media narrative is why Josh Allen will not get MVP this year. Am I wrong?
It's not been Allen's best season, and he's never won it before. What sucks is he's not even in the Pro Bowl. Like
How has he not won it before
cares?
though? When his statistics have blown away anything that Lamar has ever done with an MVP season.
Okay. If you're going to compare him to Lamar, sure, Lamar's already won an MVP.
I'm comparing him
and
directly to an MVP winner. Yes.
Allen's numbers are way better than Lamar's across the board. Lamar is a winner, and he's done well with that. He's good at balancing. Everyone thought he was just a running back
He's
who
not.
can throw
He's
occasionally.
not. He's
He can
improved
throw.
in the pocket. He's improved
sure.
tremendously in the pocket. But to say that Allen is an MVP this year, I think it is a media-driven bullshit narrative that he has all these turnovers in the worst possible time.
Rodgers has won 4 MVPs. He has 1 Super Bowl under his belt, and it was in his first 5 years with McCarthy. McCarthy's a terrible coach. He's just a blob. I think MVP.
What are we talking
who
about
cares?
here? Let's
let's
what does
not
MVP,
talk about the
what does
MVP race.
MVP
Who cares?
mean then?
I want him to be Super Bowl MVP. I don't care about the regular season MVP. We know the numbers. The numbers don't lie.
Yeah, but what does regular season MVP mean? For the love of God, like just
It means
take away.
nothing. Thank you. It means nothing.
But can we talk about regular season MVP because that's what the award is?
I
Regular.
already said it'll be
Who is-
okay.
Who
If
is
Lamar-
the regular season MVP? Who got the regular season MVP right now? Tell me.
The MVP is based on performance for the year, right?
You're not answering my question. Who got the regular season MVP?
It hasn't been decided yet.
I don't care. Say you're a voter. Who would you have voted for?
Christian McCaffrey.
Easy out. All right. Let's move on.
Okay. I honestly don't have much else to talk about. I know we've missed a lot of episodes, but we know it's Mahomes versus Allen. We know that it's redemption. We know that these are both very good teams. We obviously have to keep Travis Kelce in check. Mahomes, we can't let him do Mahomes things, especially in the final 13 seconds. Here's one thing I want to say. If the Bills are up by 10, or let's just say in a perfect world, they're up by more even, and we have the ball to end the game, they call the timeout with 13 seconds.
Knock on every piece of wood you got in that house. Don't you even do it. Don't you even do it.
That likely isn't going to happen, especially with a classy coach like McDermott. Okay, without you giving your prediction, I'm going to say I hope the Bills really do come away with the victory. I don't care if it's by 1 point. I don't care if it's ugly.
Yeah.
An ugly win is better than a pretty loss.
I think in our position, as podcasters that are just talking about football because we like to talk about the Bills, giving predictions is hard to not be biased. So I feel like with the history between these two teams, I do not want to give a prediction because
Okay.
yeah, it's
Cop out,
tough.
just like you called me
Because-
copping out for not giving you the MVP, and not, you're sitting here won't even give a prediction. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just apples to apples.
So, do you have anything you want to say to Bills Mafia before we take off?
First of all, I wanted to say, are you kidding me? Like, most valuable player in the regular season of their team, if you don't think it's Josh Allen, I think you're a hater. Lamar had the better regular season record. He didn't have all the injuries though that Allen had to deal with.
First of all, wins aren't a quarterback statistic.
I can't believe I'm getting into you with this about this.
You're the one who wants to get into it. I'm just saying, let's move on. Who cares about MVP? I care about this weekend.
I do. I care
don't
about
care.
a regular season MVP because it's another notch on the belt of a player.
Again, I'd rather be the
If it didn't
underdog.
matter, people wouldn't talk about MVP. There wouldn't be an award for it.
Josh Allen should be MVP. Lamar Jackson's a scrub.
I don't want you
And
to say
the NFL is rigged.
what I think you should say. I say what you want to say.
Christian McCaffrey should be MVP.
A running back.
Yes, a running back.
All
yes, he should be MVP any season that he's healthy and can score 20
If he was on the
touchdowns.
Bills this year, would he be MVP
Maybe,
in a theoretical
Honestly,
world?
maybe because
Can
Allen
you
would have to do
imagine
that
him with
much
Josh
less.
Allen? Can you even imagine him with?
There was a chance of that, but it didn't happen. Just like our one-day contract with Antonio Brown, J.J. Watt, DeAndre Hopkins, all these guys. Yeah, we can get slept on. I'm okay with that. Again, the
No, I'm
underdog blue collar
I'm just
story.
having this daydream right now about if we had Christian McCaffrey on the team, it'd be insane with Josh
Why?
Allen.
Why? He's not an MVP.
With a human cyborg that can throw a bullet and run 55 yards, and then you've got a dude that can just make, as a running back, can just make any touchdown whenever possible.
We have a McCaffrey light in Delvin Cook's younger brother,
Dalvin
James
Cook's
Cook.
good. And
Yeah.
James Cook has had a
Yeah.
hell of a season.
He has. All right. So this Sunday, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern, and then for you, I guess it's going to be 5:30
Yeah,
game.
let me go grab a beer because I'm gonna do a send out with a beer with a
All right.
brewski.
All right. Go ahead.
This is the house that Alan built episode. I don't fucking remember because we haven't done it for 4 months. And that's all because the United States Postal Service. They work you like a goddamn mule.
And Greg's out of a job.
With that said, the United States Postal Service has the same colors as the Buffalo Bills, red, white, and blue, because it's America's team.
It is America's team. I definitely think all the people that are Cowboys fans and say, "Oh, America's team." I understand Texas is big and everything's bigger in Texas, but your
Yeah.
dollars are the same size and they spend
They
the
see
same
that
way.
Tarzan Buffalo and the red, white, and blue, and they're like, damn it, I wish we had that.
Look at this red, white, and blue. Speaking of which, do you see this helmet right here?
Tell the intriguing world that's listening to this with the podcast
So
about that.
this is a helmet that sat at the sports room in Beaverton, Oregon, which that store was recently acquired by our boy Nathan, who is a Josh Allen hater / closeted lover. He gifted me that after I helped him do some inventory stuff and organize and go through. He's got this card shop, which is like awesome. If you guys live anywhere in Oregon or plan on visiting, definitely go. He gave that
What's
to
the
me.
name
and
of
I-
that again? What's the name of the shop?
the sports room. The previous owner and the owners before that had no idea. It was a running joke. It's been in there since 2018. Okay, so yeah, the previous owners didn't know who it was. You can't really tell. I did some sleuthing and I asked Bill's Mafia. It's Willis McGahee. The 21 looked like a Y or a G or a B with a 1 at the end, or like it was crossing a T or something. It just couldn't tell. There was
I feel like
Antoine
we
Smith,
had such
Travis
a long
Henry.
line of awesome running backs during the drought, which is probably the only thing that kept us sane as Bills fans.
Yeah.
It was like the occasional awesome defenses, and then just the long string of just like awesome running backs that kept our sanity during a long line of, oh my God, we don't have a Josh Allen.
Think about all the cornerbacks too. We were so mediocre to for 20 years that we couldn't even be bad enough to be a top 5. But we
and
at least
also,
could get a
how
good
hard
corner.
is it to hit on draft picks? Look at Bryce Young this year. The Panthers
know.
traded away the barn to take the wrong quarterback. Think about how many years we had awesome picks in the top 10.
Yep.
And we fucked them away. And now we're doing magic with Brandon Bean, and we're having to work the salary cap and do this and that. But
And look at Houston. they still have a pick. They have Carolina's pick this year, and that's going to be a good pick.
Man,
So
Houston made out like bandits, just like Seattle made out with like bandits with that Russell Wilson trade.
did they ever? Yeah, especially when Geno Smith had a great year his first year there and his 11th year in the league. The Bills play in Seattle next year, so I don't care what you got to do. You're coming to Portland, and we're going to Seattle.
That's going to be my first trip back.
What do you have to say to Bills Mafia as we wrap up this episode of the house that Ellen built, the AFC divisional round?
On the record, this podcast would have kept on going if I haven't been so goddamn busy with the job that's physically and mentally demanding. Not to say that what you do is not. It's just that it's hard. It's hard. Like it's been a grind. I feel like I've been in boot camp via learning how to deliver mail in the city of Madison, Wisconsin for the last 6 months. Yeah. So I just want to say thank you for doing a podcast with me. And I told you, we were talking on the phone when I was on my way home from another 12 and a half hour day. It was pushing 9:30 p.m. and I was calling you on my way home. And I said, I'm tired, but this is the Chiefs game.
And you said, I don't care if it's 4 a.m. and I have to work at 8. I'm doing it. I'm ready. And I said, okay, we're doing it.
Yeah, let's do
and
it.
My camera wasn't working. I had to restart my computer 3 times. This thing's a beast too.
Again, for the record, there's been some times during our drought of doing a podcast, and for who knows who the cares about watching this podcast, but we do it because we want to, and that's what matters. But I haven't been able to do it, and you haven't. My priorities have changed, and part of that is a push against the universe, because there's been so many nights where I wish that I didn't have to do what I'm doing, but I also know that I got to stay disciplined, But thank you for doing this, and this is a game where we had to do it before the Chiefs game because there's so much raw emotions. The 13 seconds, like we don't have to explain the history to Bills fans. The fact that we had hundreds of shovelers show up they're going
to be needed this week too.
I'm telling you. Every man, woman, and child are going to lose their voice Sunday because they're going to show Mahomes what a real away game feels like. Well, so with that said, Bills Mafia on this Sunday in Orchard Park, New York, that represents the better part of Buffalo, New York. I want you to pound some Labatt's, smash through some tables responsibly, and as always, take a few hydration breaks. The best Canadian Pilsner on this side of the Mississippi.
Oh, Greg. It'll never get old. It is, as Chick-fil-A would say, it is my pleasure. I enjoy doing these podcasts. I made a prediction. You did not. I will hold you to that. After the Bills win, I'm going to make you do one next week, no matter what. In the AFC Championship, if we win, then we go to Baltimore. So, well, that's going to do it for this week of the house that Ellen built. I'm glad we could get through our first episode in a while. I'm Scott K. Martin. With me, as always, almost.
Greg Vollmer.
Let's hope that the third time is the charm. This is a house that Ellen built. Episode Who the Hell Knows? I'm Scott K. Martin. With me, almost always,
Greg Vollmer.
Let's go Buffalo!
I've had a bit too much to drink, so you're gonna have to work some extra magic to edit this thing, man.
I know. All right, well, go Bills.
You got me feeling like I'm Josh Allen. Yeah. What? You got me feeling like I'm Josh. Okay. You got me feeling like I'm Josh Allen. Yeah. Josh. Got me feeling like I'm who? Josh. Yeah. Josh Allen.
It was fun to do a podcast again.
It's been a while, and you know what? Hopefully we have 3 more.
I hope so too.
Think about it. That would be a recap, a preview, a recap. Oh, then we want to do more than that. And then a Super Bowl preview and a Super Bowl recap. We might have 7 more of these, hopefully.
Well, don't knock on wood, man.
All right. Well, we at least have 1 more. It'll be the recap.
If we win the Super Bowl or get to the Super Bowl, we already know you, me, and my brother are going to get the Charging Buffalo tattoos.
100%.
That's happening.
Yes, it's happening.
As Trista Crick from BetMGM.
So the Bills are now 7-1 under Ken Dorsey. Oh, sorry, I'll do that again.
And then the next moment, he does something.
And then the next moment, he chokes on his own saliva. While you're doing that, look at this. It's nothing special, but
which one is it?
It's against the Steelers from last year's.
That's sweet.
So if you don't remember, we can come back to
I
what
had
you were
something.
saying.
I had something profound to say, and I lost it, man.
Well, if you get it, let me know. I mean,
Is
we
it
were sitting.
possible to have a Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakir, and
Are you fucking frozen, Josh Allen? What are you looking for?
sorry, it's frozen. It was outside in the cold and 3-degree weather.
Is
here
that
in
a
Dallas.
Hams? That looks like a Hams instead
Yeah,
of a
well,
bat.
that's a Hams.
Oh.
I did the old switcheroo. So when you
What
said
the
to show
hell?
the beer, I just cracked open a Hams, but I took the empty Labatt Blue for the
Mm.
audience.
Got it.
That's what you call the old switcheroo.